things that happen to us are because of this. But as humans, well, if we're not even acknowledging that there really is a soul, how are we going to begin to even uncover and untap this science? And I've learned some fascinating things from them. Now, this is where you put your hat on and decide, even though I'm speaking authoritatively, don't let it fool you. You have to decide for yourself whether it's true or not. From what I have learned, the human being is a unique experience that's a symbiont experience. That there is this energetic, electric residue, if you want to call it, that comes in and binds with the biological unit. And there are two dual operating systems that coexist, which I think is interesting because if you know anything about the human body, you know you have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems which work together. One controls the powerful things like blinking, heart beating, respirations. The other one says, I think I'm going to move my hand and stroke my hair, and I want to eat, and I'm going to do some more complex operations. Apparently, there are two systems that learn to coexist in our systems, in our body. And one is the one that is related to the biological unit. And when we become activated, and our soul gets turned on more as a primary listening point, then that operating system comes into greater power, and it gives you greater discipline, and it gives you greater understanding and greater control to move forward as a more evolved, willful human being. Now, there's a whole, obviously we don't have time for this, how the soul binds and how it separates, but the one interesting thing that I think is really pertinent that I want to mention is that a lot of you have heard about with extraterrestrial experiences, people become paralyzed and they can't move. What they showed me is that many of the races know how to actually disengage the soul from the biological unit, and that oh crap, I forgot I'm on film. All right, well, I'm saying this publicly. What they do is, as they've explained to me, is that they actually can come in, and through their abilities, they can rotate your nervous system, and they can disengage it a little bit. And what they say is they just turn it a little bit so your synaptic junctions do not line up, and you're not able to control your body. And therefore, that's where the paralysis comes in. Again, I don't know if this is true. I have some medical and scientific background, but not to that extent. But I think it's really interesting, and I think it merits further exploration as we look into the new types of sciences that we should be exploring. So for those of you who have those paralytic type of encounters, oftentimes that's what happens. Or you come back from a lucid dream and you slam back into your body and you can't really move for a while. The alignment hasn't taken place. And the reason I'm sharing these types of things is that I want you to just look at life differently and say that there's many different explanations for all these crazy things that can happen out there. And some of them might make sense and might actually be proven if we move in the right direction in science. So there's this whole science of the soul that provides a lot of explanation for what happens and why it happens that we have yet to uncover. And once we do, things are going to make a lot more common sense. The other thing is learning about that space and time and dimensions don't coincide with our traditional understanding. I mean, why? The human has an orientation, and why we just don't get it is because we think linear. We think up, we think down. We think left, right, east, west, north, south. And because of that, we have to learn to think more inside and outside and move in a different direction. I'm going to go really fast now because I just got the warning sign. All right. I want to talk to you real quickly, let you know that with time, space, and reality, that there is something called a nodal point. And when you hear about people talking about attraction and things coming to you, part of it is tied into this. And what we are able to do is we're able to get ourselves to this cruxus of time, space, energy, where everything can flow out. And you can do this through your consciousness. And what happens is when you get yourself to the power of this nodal point, and you start thinking in a conscious direction, you can redirect the flow of the futures that come to you. All right, so why are things happening now? Because, my friends, we have these new eyes and capacity to reinterpret the world. Life used to be like that. Life is now like this because we have technology. Technology has given us the insider course to the answers for many of the things that were not able to be understood before. And so our ancient alchemists are really today's modern scientists. So what I've done for that first part is I've given you a preview of what it's been like and some of the things that I've learned. Obviously, I can't dump 50+ years into the course of 45 minutes to an hour, but I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what it's been like for me. But now I'm more interested in something far more important. It's not about me, it's about you. And this is what I want to spend the last 15 minutes talking to you about. You know, you all have come here and you've all talked to yourself about, you know, we've got this mission, we're awakening, we feel special. You have a new job assignment. And it's not that you're this great prophet or anything. You're really door holders. You're in concierge services because if you want people to think differently and be open to your ideas, you need to just gently introduce them to it in a way that's palatable to them. And that's what your responsibility is beside your own journey of awakening, you're also here for other people. This is how humans tend to see the world. They tend to see it in their suburban background, in their isolated houses, in their little communities, and in their cities, and they stay within their viewpoint. You never even get them to look up into the sky, hardly at all, to see what's going there. So they see ourselves as this contained globe. But how you see the world is different, because you see it with the power of metamorphosis and the power of change and of infinite possibility. And you know that what's been fed to us isn't necessarily what's real. So your new job description is metamorphosis, and that you're change agents of a new degree because you're dealing with extraterrestrial reality and human higher consciousness. And you have to do it in a way that you do not appear disenfranchised, you do not appear alienated from them, that they are able to listen to you and they want to listen to you. I mean, I've had this crazy background, I'm extremely far out, and I've been very, very successful walking into many different countries, many different corporations, many different businesses, many different people, and have been able to give people some very strong tools for progressing forward. And it's all about the way that we communicate and the way that we do it. So I need you to understand something about your audience because I want you to have some tangible tools as you move forward. This is who you're working with on the planet now, and I tend to call it alphabet demographics. L's, O's, and M's. Okay, the L's are what you'd consider yourself, enlightened luminaries. You know, you've seen it all, you know, extraterrestrial, paranormal experiences. You're in tune with those who connect with you in the unseen world and the other side. You know, nothing phases you and you're well aware on the pathway. The O's are what I call the ordinary humans. These are the people who are still out there. They may be interested in what Oprah has to say. They think, oh, this is kind of interesting. And in that group is the emerging humans, the eh. And in those emerging humans, those are the people who are your target in terms of making headway with them. That they would be willing to hear you if you communicate appropriately with them. And this is what Carrie once interviewed me and I called the swing vote. These are the people who are looking to know more about what's out there, are fed up with what they've been told because it no longer fits the world as they see it. But they need to have it packaged in a way that they can accept and is understandable to them. And this is where it is incumbent upon us to stop thinking about ourselves and, you know, I do this and I read this book and I have this and have you heard about this? And to sit down, shut up, and listen to them. And to start understanding where they come from, acknowledging who they are, and it's not about you, it's about you extending your hand and saying, I hear you. You know, I have some things to offer. Instead of overpowering them with what we have encountered on our journeys and what we know. Because they have some extraordinary things to share. And these are the people who are going to determine our future. We, of course, do have the M's, the elementary man, who is what I call the fundamental, which I think is an appropriate word. or them. These are the people who are greatly filled with intolerance.